Welcome back to Coffee and Conversation. And for all you Audie fans, my bad boy is running around here somewhere nearby. I just saw him a few minutes ago. He is in a really good mood today, even though it's pretty dark and overcast and has been this way all day long. It's been fairly warm, but just not bright and sunny. So not Audie's kind of weather. When it's warm, he wants it to be sunny. When it's dark, he wants it to be cold. He doesn't like what he seems to perceive as an internal contradiction in the weather. But the reason he's in such a good mood is I made tuna earlier today. And what that means is tuna water for a cat. And he loves that. So when I get tuna, I have to buy the tuna that's packed in water. And I have to get light tuna and, it's like dark tuna and light tuna. I have to get a mix so that he gets the appropriate mix of water in his little bowl. He loves it. And he hears the can opener. Now, I know a lot of cats come when they hear the can opener because they get canned cat food. Audie does not, he's never had canned cat food. I've tried it occasionally. He doesn't like it. For him, the sound of the can opener means tuna water. So yeah, he is in a good mood, but he did stuff his little cat belly full of tuna water, so who knows? Maybe he's sleeping it off. We'll just have to wait and see. So let's take a quick look at the intro, and we will be right back. So, I wanted to share something with you because I discovered a whole new aesthetic recently, one that I did not know existed. So, let me explain. I recently bought a suitcase, and this suitcase, well, let me just show you a picture of it because it's hard to describe. This is something called sardine core. I never would have thought any such thing as this existed, but apparently it does. Now, I'm familiar with all kinds of, it's like cottage core and grandma core and whatever. And people just throw the word core onto just about any adjective, and they turn it into an aesthetic. But sardine core? Really? Anyway. I fell in love with the suitcase. It was just so quirky and so different. So I brought it home. I shared it with Audie. Audie likes it very much because obviously when he looks at this and sees fish cans on it, as far as he's concerned, oh, tuna water is somewhere close by. So Audie gave his seal of approval, and then that led me to think back on my very first teaching experience. And it was when I was in my teens, and I had been approached by a local clergyman who said, "Your father was a pilot. Can you help put together some information for what he called golden agers?" That's late 60s, forgive the terminology. Can you put something together for golden agers who are thinking about traveling on airplanes, maybe for the first time in their lives? And I thought, well, yeah. I grew up on airplanes. Daddy was a pilot. So I started teaching classes. It started off at the local church where this minister was employed, and then later moved into community centers and so on, and stretched out to the point where I was doing a little class like this maybe twice a month, just to be able to help older people prep for something that they weren't really used to, like air travel. And I thought to myself, things have changed. We all know this. TSA is making a very different ground map for travel these days. But still, a lot of this information it's still relevant, it's still useful. So, I sat down last week and started condensing. Now, I had to throw a lot of the information that I was able to use in the 60s. I had to throw a lot of that out, and I had to update a little of it. So I thought I would share it with you. So here are my 5 do's and 5 don'ts for golden agers. And you can reframe that any way you want to, but I have to say, I do love that expression, golden agers, and I had not thought about that in years. So let's start with our 5 do's. And this first one is the 222 on medication. So where this comes from is dealing with an older population, as I was. I knew medication was extremely important. And remember, this was back in the late 60s. So medications were not what they are today. If you were taking medications, you needed those meds. It was not. Today, a lot of medications, let me just back up. Today, a lot of medications are prescribed for a lot of conditions. Not everything is necessary every single day. And if you go off your meds for a week, it's not the end of the world. Well, back in the 60s, if you were on medication and you took a week off, it could be the end of the world. So that's where I came up with this system. And it's very simple. If you are traveling and you need your meds, the first 2 is pack twice as much medication as you need for the duration of your stay, wherever you're going. It's the whole trip, including travel time. So if you're going to stay somewhere for 5 days, but you're going to be on a train for 2 days coming, 2 days going, you need to pack at least 9 days worth of medication, double. So you want 18 days worth of medication. And there's a reason for this. And you'll see this as we go to our next 2. You want to divide that medication into 2 groups, half and half, so that you have a full vacation's worth of medication, double, in 2 different locations. So you'll keep half of your meds on your person, in your pocket, in your handbag, whatever, but it stays on your person. Why? Because once again, we're talking about a time when medications were critical. They could not be skipped for a week. So you keep half of it on your person. You keep the other half in whatever bag, like luggage bag, carry-on bag, you had with you at the time. And this was your backup. If someone snatched your purse, if someone stole your carry-on bag, and these have always been real concerns, you were not without your medication. One was a backup for the other. And the fact is that you would just double it and back it up by keeping it in separate locations. This would include over-the-counter meds if you were not going to be able to obtain them where you were going. So, for example, if you are reliant on aspirin, which is widely available in the United States, but not widely available in other countries, if you need aspirin, and a lot of people do take aspirin in small doses as a blood thinner to prevent heart attacks. A lot of people use aspirin because it is a fantastic pain reliever. Whatever. Something like that, you would add that to your medication stash. So that is the medication plan from the start. And I started always with the most important thing, because your meds are always the most important. Now, to update this, if you are traveling overseas, now you have to go through TSA. You have to keep your medications in their prescription bottles. And that makes it a little harder to divvy it up, but not too hard. Here's the thing. You can get your pharmacist to give you 2 or 3 weeks worth of medication in small bottles. They do have the bottles. The bottles are in their back room on the shelves. And your pharmacist my pharmacist will do it anytime I go anywhere. If your pharmacist balks, or you don't have a really close relationship with your pharmacist, your doctor can write that small amount prescription. You can get it in small bottles that are very easy to transport and carry. You carry it through security. Once you get past TSA, then you can divvy it up. So just take a few baggies. And obviously, you're going to have the time to divvy it up because these days the airlines want us in that airport at least an hour before the flight is taking off. And I don't know about anybody else, but for me, that hour is just an agonizing grind of sitting and doing nothing. Give a few minutes and split up the meds. And again, you would put one set on your person and the other set in your carry-on bag. On an airline, you would have to check with your doctor before you put it in your checked luggage. And the reason for this is the cargo compartment of an airplane is subject to radical temperature changes, and that can affect the efficacy of some medications. So, just saying. But can you do it even with the TSA regulations? Absolutely. Can you do it domestically? Yes, because they don't care about your prescription meds as long as it can go through a scanner to determine, your medication isn't, cocaine or something like that. So that, I think, is one that is still valuable. So next up, eyeglasses. It's a big one for me because if you take away my glasses, I can't see. Keeping in mind, I can't see when I've got them, so imagine how much worse it is with no glasses. If you wear eyeglasses, be sure to bring an extra pair. Some people routinely maintain 2 pairs of glasses. I do. These are my indoor video recording, reading, working on the computer, etc. And I have another pair of glasses that I use out in the community when I'm traveling. They give me a little more distance vision. So ordinarily, I got 2 pairs of glasses. If I were going somewhere, for example, overseas, where it would be difficult, possibly even impossible, to get a copy of my prescription filled somewhere where I might not even speak the language, I would bring a 3rd pair of glasses just as a backup. For most people, that's probably not necessary. For most people, it's your regular glasses. Just grab a 2nd pair of glasses. And we've talked about that on this channel. You can get glasses online. I have paid as little as like $20-some, including shipping, for prescription eyeglasses, simply by buying them online. If I were going to do that and get a special pair of glasses for travel, I would probably get a dedicated pair of sunglasses, simply because that makes more sense to me. If you are going on a plane and you ordinarily wear contact lenses, wear glasses when you're on the plane, because planes are dry and contact lenses dry out very easily, and especially on planes. And if your contact lenses get too dry, they can scratch your corneas. And an abraded cornea, that's generally how they refer to it, that will redefine the word pain for you, and not in a good way. So trust me, it's not worth it. Wear glasses while you're on the plane, go back to your contacts. And if you are accustomed to traveling with contacts, then you know how easy it is to lose contacts for them, especially if they're soft lenses, for them to get damaged, etc. So you should have a pair of glasses as a backup. That is just common sense. Documents. This one is great because it is so easy now with phones. take your phone, take a picture of your passport, take a picture of any tickets or any information, take a picture of your itinerary, make sure you have all of it. Take pictures of your identification. Well, if you have a passport, that's your identification. But if you're not traveling overseas, take a picture of your driver's license. Keep that on your phone so that you have your documentation in two places. And one will be in your wallet or your handbag. The other will be in your phone. That can save you a world of difficulty, because if you lose your passport when you're overseas, having a copy of your passport means you can just trot into the local embassy and say, here's a copy of my passport, all the information is there, and they can issue you a replacement on the spot. It makes it so much easier for them just to have the information handy. So that's why the documentation thing is really important. But like I say, we got something the Golden Agers didn't have. Back in the day, I would tell people to go down to an office nearby, or they had stores, stationery stores that would make Xeroxes for you, but they would charge you for it. Oh Lord, I'm thinking way back to the Stone Ages. And you could get Xeroxes of your documents, but the Golden Agers had to keep these stacks of papers all folded up somewhere. We don't. We've got our phones. So yes, what TSA took away, the phone gave to us. So yes, some things are better, some things not so much. Oh, and while we are into 21st century life, chargers and adapters. If you're leaving the country, the electrical system we use here in the US is not used in Europe. You will need adapters. If you plan to go to Europe and you're going to go to England and France, and you have equipment designed for the US, you need a charger for the UK, and you're going to need a charger for continental Europe. And you can do this just by getting a little adapter plug. They are tiny. They are, gosh, what is that? That's the size of it. They're about the size of a golf ball. And they are very inexpensive. You can get one little adapter that will convert right across the board and probably have USB plugs in it as well. So that's something to think about. Also, remember, your phone is going to need its charging cord. If you take a laptop, you are going to want to bring the laptop cord along with you. The easiest way to deal with this is if you can consolidate your cords. In other words, a few cords with a variety of different little adapters. That works great. But people forget their charging cords. We're not used to carrying them with us. When I walk out of the house with my cell phone, I'm not even thinking about where the charging cord is. How easy would it be for me to walk out the door on my way off on a trip and completely forget about that? It's something to remember. And charging cords they pack easily. I know some people who advocate shoving charging cords into your shoes when you pack them, because they are flexible. You can just wrap them up in little balls and stick them just about anywhere. Any loose space in your luggage will accommodate adapters and cords. But that is another must. And it's something that, believe it or not, a lot of people forget. Or they will remember to bring some cords and not others. If I were to leave the house with my laptop, I would remember to bring the laptop cord. Would I remember to bring the phone charging cord? No. And even though I could charge my phone from my laptop, I still need a cord to do it. So that is another one but that's like absolutely 21st century. a new one, and this is one that I should have known about back in the 60s, but it never occurred to me to throw this out for the Golden Agers. And the reason why is they did this automatically. When you're going to be on an airplane, wear a pair of comfortable, full coverage shoes. Not flip-flops, not sandals. It can be sneakers, or, if you're overseas, trainers. It can be loafers. You don't want spiked heels. The flatter the heel, the better, but I'm not going to say, oh, you must wear flat-heeled shoes. You need to be able to walk comfortably in the shoes, but they need to cover your entire foot. Now, the Golden Age ladies back in the 60s, that was just what they wore anyway. It was never something you would consider worth mentioning. Today, TSA is no longer making you remove your shoes before you get on an airplane. Like, great, thanks so much, TSA. I appreciate the tiny little favor. But when you go on an airplane, if anything goes wrong, you need to have secure footwear on your feet. If you have to evacuate a plane, you don't want to be doing that in flip-flops or sandals. And you certainly don't want to be doing it in your bare feet if there is a crisis on board. Now, how likely is there to be a crisis on board? Not very likely at all. Air travel is still the safest, statistically, the safest way to travel. But if something does go wrong, better to be prepared than to be caught off guard. So when you get on that airplane, you want a real shoe on your foot. Now, the shoe should not be too tight. That's another thing, because people's feet tend to swell. And this brings me to the related item that goes along with this, compression stockings. I keep compression stockings for travel. It's not just for air flights, because when the pressure changes and you're sitting in an airliner's seat for a long period of time, your legs can swell, your feet can swell. And that, of course, is why you don't want to start off with shoes that are too tight. Just make sure there's some flexibility in those full coverage shoes. But compression stockings are something you should plan on bringing as well. I have some that they look just like knee-high nylons. You can't tell. If you don't know they're compression stockings, you won't know they're compression stockings. So they're very attractive. They're very inexpensive. You can get them just about anywhere. You don't need a high degree of compression, just enough to prevent your feet and legs from swelling. And it's not just in the air. If you're on a long train trip, same thing. You'll be sitting for long periods of time and your feet can swell. So consider the compression stockings as well. But, oh, and also, if you're on a train, it also makes sense to wear full coverage shoes and not try to get from the platform onto the train over the gap in flip-flops or sandals or anything else that could get caught in that space between the platform and the train step. It's just an ordinary safety precaution. But as we get older, our reaction time is not the same as it was when we were 7 or 8 years old, and we could stop ourselves from falling just by shifting our weight. No, it's a little harder. So I still think it's good advice regardless. So now, for the 5 don'ts. These are things you shouldn't take with you on a trip. And the first is half your clothing. Unless you are a really careful packer and you are extremely conservative in what you take, most of us are going to overpack. That's just the reality. I say this as a person who, for Gosh, for 5 years, every time I went on a trip, I had a blue and white silk dress that I would pack in my bag just in case. I never wore it once, not once, but I brought it along because I could justify it, because it was silk and it packed up so small and it was so cute. And what if I need it? Yeah, eliminate about half of it. You probably need separates. Most of us vacation in separates. You probably need one top for every 2 days and one bottom for every 3 days. That's really what you need. Because after all, we're not 8 years old. We're not sitting in the garden making mud pies. We're not dirtying our clothing like that. So can you get away with a lot less? Absolutely. You really, really can. And if you go the capsule wardrobe route and plan your packing around certain colorways, it's like, oh, I'm going to coordinate around navy blue, and I will bring, a pair of navy blue trousers and 3 shirts that go with navy blue, and then I'll bring a pair of white trousers and a couple of shirts, and you can actually do this very, very easily and effectively. Don't bring the just-in-case clothing. Don't look at a vacation as an opportunity to pack up every fancy thing you own so you can go show it off to somebody else. Vacations are about taking it easy and having fun, not about stressing over your wardrobe. But that brings us thinking of showing off. Number 2, don't bring expensive jewelry or designer handbags. No. Things like that are invitations to thieves. And this is something that is more significant in the 21st century than it was 60 years ago. It just is. And, if you had any idea how easy it is for someone to just come up to you, grab your handbag, and run. And boy, that wonderful Chanel purse is gone for good. Or I've actually seen films of, well, I don't want to call them pickpockets, but assailants. I like that word. Assailants running past tourists, grabbing a necklace, ripping it right off the person's neck. Keep on going. So yeah, leave the designer handbags and the flashy jewelry at home. You can certainly do well without it. And like I say, it's about having fun, not worrying about your stuff. Toiletries comes up next. If you look at your toiletry bag, you are going to find that about half of what is in there is going to be supplied by the hotel. And most of what is left over is going to be something you can easily purchase at any drugstore at your destination. So when you look at toiletries, this is where you should be brutal. Take only what you really need. If you feel that you you have to have your very favorite hand lotion, nothing else will do, fine, take it. But do you need shampoo? Do you need soap? The hotel's going to supply that. Do you need sunscreen? There's going to be a store, on the next corner. You're going to be able to pick it up easily. And I should say the exception here, by the way, is if you're going on a cruise, in which case buying items on the cruise ship is insanely expensive. But then again, if you're going on a cruise, there are no baggage restrictions, so you don't need to worry about packing light, and you can afford to bring a few extra things. Still, I wouldn't go overboard. Oh, that was a pun. That was an unintentional pun, but I caught it the minute it came out of my mouth. Yeah, you don't need to go crazy on the toiletries. But I can tell you from my own personal experience, when I was thinking about this earlier this week when I was planning to talk to you about it, I grabbed my own toiletry bag. and it weighs 1 pound, 14 ounces. That's a lot of weight. The stuff in that bag are things like soap and hand lotion and shampoo and sunscreen and things that the hotel will supply or that I can get for a couple of bucks at a grocery store. So yeah, I am just, boy, I'm the biggest culprit. Really, I am. So these are some of my mistakes as well. Next up, books. You don't need to take books on your vacation. Let me just see if I have it. Yes, I do, because I've always got it here. If you want to read on your vacation, the reason I knew I had this one here is because I got a half a dozen of these. This is how big it is. Look at that. Tiny, tiny. Oh, and mine has a clip on the back. So without that clip, it's even tinier. I have, I think, 7 books and half a dozen university lectures on this. And it's just a little MP3 player. Super small, super convenient, and I have all the reading material I could ever want. And if you're not using audiobooks when you're on vacation, maybe it's a good time to start. Because again, if you are an avid reader on vacation, this will save you so much space. Seriously. Finally, this is our number 5 of things you don't need to take. Don't take souvenirs to your vacation destination. So, what I mean by that is, if you like wearing baseball caps, and I do, keeps the rain off my glasses and the sun out of my eyes, I like my baseball caps. But I don't take them on vacation. And the reason for that is I go on vacation, I get a baseball cap there as a souvenir, and I'm all set. Same thing with things like t-shirts, sweatshirts, tote bags, all of those things that make your life easy when you're on a vacation, but they make great souvenirs too. So when you're packing to go on a trip, just ask yourself, is this something I can get at my destination that I can bring home, will be a great memento of the trip, and it will save me having to pack it on the outgoing trip? Because remember, as you're coming back in, you're going back into your own country, things are a lot easier in terms of your traveling going back home. Psychologically, that's just how it works. And we all remember this from our childhood. When we would go somewhere when we were kids, the trip to the destination always seemed longer. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? But the trip back always seemed shorter. And from a vacation trip, of course, it's going to seem shorter because you've just been vacating, so you are all rested up. Anyway, that is my new revised 21st century packing do's and don'ts. And this, by the way, that it's like a small percentage of my packing information, but I thought I would just share those because they're quick, they're easy, and they could make a difference, especially if you're planning on going away this summer, because we are coming into travel weather. All right, Audie did not show up. I think he's back in the bed. He's probably just in a tuna water coma at this point. Little belly stuffed full of that tuna water. But we're going to make do without his presence. Thank you so much for being with us. We're going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out. I hope to see you next time. And in the meanwhile, have a terrific day.